Okay, we'll continue with our top 12 driver press conferences. We're pleased to be joined right now in the media center by Kurt Busch. He drives the number 2 Miller Lite Dodge for Penske Racing, fourth in points, and he's got a pair of wins here in 2010. And Kurt, as we begin the second half of the season here at Chicagoland Speedway, certainly right now your focus has to be on getting to victory lane and racking up those bonus points. Talk about how the number 2 car try to do that here the next few weeks.
Yeah, we're really pumped up about Chicagoland and coming to this area of the country. Miller Lite's always heavily involved at this racetrack and in this region, and so we've got a lot of excitement heading into this weekend. And our main goal is to go out there and go for those wins, of course, and try to rack up those extra 10 points to take with us to the chase. You know, if the chase started now, we'd be tied for third in points with a group of guys. You know, the leaders would be 30 ahead of us. You know, 30 points isn't anything that you can't overcome within one weekend, but it's just nice when you've got good momentum and good things going your way towards when the chase begins. And so these next bulk of races are very interesting. We've got Chicagoland, which is 1.5 miles that we feel like we've got a pretty good handle on right now. That's one of our top tracks. So we're going to unload here with our Charlotte setup. It's a car we finished third with at Darlington. And then we have an off week, get re-energized, rejuiced up, and then we go to Indy. And I don't think anybody brings nothing but the best to Indy and nothing but the thought of trying to win. And then we start settling into some of our summertime races with Pocono, Michigan, Bristol, which are all three different wide varieties of racetracks leading up to the chase. So the focus this weekend, though, is to get our Miller Lite Dodge in the victory lane and have a big celebration with a lot of the top executives from Miller who are here with us this weekend.
Okay, we'll take questions now for Kurt Busch. If you'll raise your hand, we'll start right here with Steve. Where is our mic person? Boy, must be out on a break. Go ahead, Steve. What's your question?
Yeah, I mean, Sam Hornish Jr. has been doing an excellent job in the 77 car, progressing over the years. There's been steady movement, moving forward, getting a feel for the race car. That's the number one objective. I know that if I went to go race IRL cars, there'd be a huge learning curve, and that it would be something to challenge yourself with. And that's what he's done, is he's challenged himself with tackling these stock cars, and he's putting up a good battle. But yet we want to see more out of him, and I think he knows that as well. And, you know, to have a great run spoiled the other night at Daytona, and then to have a couple other runs earlier this year where he was doing really well and not post the results, we just got to help find him a way to find those 15th place cars and turn them into top 10s, and to do it on a continued basis. But he's continuously showing progress, and it's just a matter of time before I think he breaks through.
We'll go to Mike Mulhern, then to Dave Coleman, and then to Shannon. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Mulhern done that. Buongiorno. Where are you going in Italy, and can you describe the stuff at the end of the race last weekend with Carl Edwards and whoever else was in there with what was going on?
Yeah, it's going to be a nice off weekend next week. On the schedule, there was a drag race out in Sonoma. I looked at it, and I was like, man, I want to go out there and race my car in super gas again. And the wife said, no, we're going to go to Italy, because we split the off weekends. I choose 2, and she gets the other 2. And so we're going to enjoy ourselves out there. Just do the top touristy spots with Rome and Florence, Venice, maybe cruise through Tuscany, just because we go out to Napa every year and enjoy that. It should be interesting just to roam around. You know, switching over to back at Daytona, you know, I ran into a lot of cars. I think everybody ran into a lot of stuff last week, just sliding around all race long. And I got wrecked after the start-finish line when the race finished. And the car didn't deserve to be destroyed like it was. I pinched Carl coming to the line to try to preserve 6th place. He turned right after the start-finish line to wreck us, and I think it collected the 71 car. Who's that, Mike Bliss? Might have been in that car last week. Those guys didn't deserve to get caught up in a wreck after the start-finish line, and it's just tough when you see wrecked cars, and there was a lot of them after Daytona, and So we'll see how the rest of the races progress down there and as far as what happens here in the short term.
Go Dave Coleman, Shannon, Kenny Bruce. Go ahead, Dave.
Dave Coleman, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Kurt, this looks like a fairly typical season in that it's a roller coaster. You'll get, a month where Jimmy Johnson can't be beat, and then another one where everybody thinks he forgot how to drive. You know what I mean? That kind of those kinds of ups and downs. Can you explain why that sort of thing tends to happen throughout a season, and then also where you see that roller coaster heading for everybody the rest of the way out?
Well, it's a battle each week to try to get a good top finish, and there's a lot of elements that can come up and bite you at the end of these races, whether you're gambling on fuel strategy, whether your tire strategy you chose wrong, whether it's you're at Sonoma and somebody just decides to throw you off the racetrack. There's so many elements that come into play on how you get a good finish. And, Johnson went 10 weeks without winning, and we all were writing to each other on, man, he's out. He's not on top of his game. But the expectations for them are just so different than anybody else, is what it seems like. And the tracks where he really excels just happen to be in the chase. They're really good at those 10 tracks. So it really doesn't matter what anybody does this time of year, other than the fact of you got to work your way into being in one of those top 12 guys, lock yourself into the chase, and then worry about how things start up once you get to Loudon in September.
We'll go Shannon, Kenny Bruce, Dustin.
Hey, Kurt, Shannon Spake, ESPN. You were just talking about Sam Hornish Jr., and I know you've sort of watched his development. I'd just like to get your perspective on how challenging you think it's for someone like Danica, who's doing this one-off and then going back to the IRL. Sam was able to really kind of just come over here full-time, but for her, she doesn't have that opportunity, and just sort of how you think that may pose a bigger challenge for her.
Yeah, and it's the expectation level as well. For Danica, it's all just compressed all into one big event every weekend, and when she comes over and races with us in NASCAR, I giggle at that because it's only nationwide. It's not the big show. You got to be in the big show if you want to race with the big guys, and eventually she'll cross over and try to race with the big guys, and again, there will be that big expectation, and yet she doesn't have the timeline to help put it all together, where Sam Hornish Jr. has done that. He's been able to switch over. He conquered the things he wanted to do in IRL and had a nice, easy transition of just kind of flying under the radar. But for Danica, it's a Daytona 500 every weekend that she shows up as far as media and attention, and it can wear on you. Even though you're just trying to work on the race car, you got to do a lot of other stuff, and you get pulled in many directions. It can definitely wear you out.